The Prime Minister says volunteer firefighters from all states and territories will be eligible for up to $6,000 in compensation as part of a federal government scheme. For more on this, I'm joined by Deputy Nationals Leader Bridget McKenzie. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Bridget.
Great to be with you.
The Prime Minister initially resisted calls to compensate volunteer firefighters. What do you think prompted the backflip?
Well, in response to a request from the New South Wales Government, the Prime Minister has announced that we as a federal government will be providing income loss payments for our volunteer fire services, particularly for those who are employed by small businesses and who indeed own small businesses themselves. And many of those are our farmers in New South Wales who are out protecting their communities and have been for many, many weeks, and therefore foregoing obviously a lot of payment and causing that flow-on effect for small businesses in local communities who don't have their workforce available to them. So this is in response to recognising that these fires have been going on for some time, and this is the very start of the season, and I think it's an appropriate response. We know that our great volunteer firefighters, you know, the CFA here in Victoria, the RFS in New South Wales, and right around the country, our volunteer firefighters, it's not their day job. They have other work to do in their communities, but in typical fashion, regional Australians band together and fight together when threats are upon us. And their efforts at the front line of the fires right around the country is evidence to that ethos. And I think it's an appropriate response that we recognise the personal economic cost to them and the small businesses that employ them to ensure that they can sustain themselves and their families through what's going to be a very difficult season.
Yeah, they're doing such a remarkable job at the moment.
It's amazing,
the issue, it is. It's so incredible, even when I'm down there reporting from the RFS, just to see the time and effort.
I think one of the things that I'd like to sort of ask particularly young people, but even people my age, is to actually don't expect someone else to do it for you. You know, that ethos of volunteering and looking after your community and the broader fire response, the environment that surrounds your community, we all need to put in to do that. And a lot of these organisations and brigades have been struggling for some time to find volunteers, and it's important that we don't leave it up to someone else to really be at the ready when crisis strikes our community.
The issue saw fellow MP Darren Chester break ranks from the government to call for payments. Did pressure from within your own party have any weight, do you think?
Well, I think the National Party live and breathe the effects of the fires. They're in our electorates. I know Pat Conahan in the seat of Cowper up with Port Macquarie has been dealing with this for many, many weeks, as is Barnaby Joyce's electorate. And Darren being down in Gippsland again. Here in Victoria, we know all too well what can occur when fires get out of control and can really do untold damage, not just to property, but to human life and families it takes many decades to recover from. So we live and breathe the impact of bushfires in our communities. Many of our members in our party room are members of their local brigades, so it is something we feel very keenly each and every day. So Darren's response, I think, was pretty typical of the view held across the National Party.
The opposition leader has called for a national approach to the issue. Do you think this temporary scheme is enough?
Well, I think it's something for state ministers to discuss when they next get together. We've got the scheme in place. It's not the first time this sort of response has been used when in times of difficulty such as we're experiencing at this year. And so it is appropriate that when state ministers get together, that it is a topic of discussion, and I'm sure that they will have a serious chat about how a federal government can respond to and assist state governments with their firefighting response. You know, this isn't the only piece of work, I guess, our government has done over the bushfire season as it's begun. We've made sure the Defence Force is ready to respond and to assist. We've ensure that the infrastructure is there, that whatever states have requested of us, the Emergency Services Minister David Littleproud has made sure that they've had whatever's required, and we've acted at the ready and request of the state governments who are suffering through these bushfires.
Bridget, just shifting to another topic now. Importers of high-dose caffeine products have been put on notice, with importers facing up to 10 years in jail. What's prompted this warning?
Yeah, Samantha, it comes on the back of a tragic incident this time last year when a 21-year-old Lachlan Foote died New Year's Day as a result of taking caffeine supplements, equivalent of 50 cups of coffee in 1 teaspoon. Now, these supplements are sold as, healthy to help you with your post-exercise regime, etc. And they actually can kill you. And so we've actually banned the sale of that here in a retail way here in Australia, and my responsibility as regulating the importation of food into Australia, I'm also banning the importation of these sort of products that can actually cause serious harm, and in the case of Mr Foote death, we want to make sure that people can still enjoy their coffee, can still enjoy those energy drinks that so many Australians like in moderation, but that those types of supplements, where if it's in solid form 5% is pure caffeine, or in liquid form 1%, they will be banned from importation or sale in Australia to ensure that products available to Australians are actually safe.
It seems,
and you will be suffering up to 10 years jail should you seek to breach that.
It does seem a bit unnecessary, doesn't it, to require that much caffeine. As someone who does shift work, yes, love my coffee, but that's far too much.
That's right. So your cup of coffee is safe, your espresso safe, your piccolos and Red Bull. But yeah, we would just want to make sure that those serious impacts such as death can't occur in the Australian public.
Bridget McKenzie, Deputy Nationals Leader, appreciate your time on this Sunday afternoon. Thank you.
Anytime.